I want to share with you my discovery of the senses in design, particularly as taught in design education. Let me start by saying that I teach design fundamentals in a variety of other commercial art and design classes at community colleges, and I can tell you that the senses are, if not an underappreciated aspect of design education, then certainly an underemphasized one. The exceptions are, of course, drawing, which is tactile and visual, and color theory, which centers on vision. But this still leaves out the other senses. The senses and the feelings they generate are considered non-rational and counter to quantitative learning. There still tends to be, ironically, the impression that the senses are too touchy-feely to be expressed and investigated. This, in a discipline which has at its core the feelings of users who are expected to respond to what designers create, and designers to respond to and anticipate the users. So let's begin by pointing out the obvious. Everything begins with perception. Through the senses, we negotiate, learn about, and manipulate our world. From the moment we come into the world, in fact, while we await birth in the womb, we are subconsciously aware of pressure, temperature, and position. The dictionary defines sense as the following: a faculty by which the body perceives an external stimulus, what we commonly refer to as the so-called five senses, an awareness of feeling that one is in a specific state, a sane and realistic attitude to situations and problems, a way in which an expression or a situation can be interpreted, a meaning, and to be aware of, consciously or subconsciously. Here we have a basic definition of a designer which students can aspire to. One who is aware, has a realistic attitude to problem solving, is concerned with expression and meaning, and most basically, perceives and knows how to engage the senses. And when you engage the senses, you experience the world. Those experiences drive the possibility of developing empathy because you become aware of yourself and connections you have with others. This requires physical contact. The issue for me is that this is skimmed over in design education. Specific emphasis on learning how the senses operate and how design students can engage them and others through empathy is critical, but largely absent in the classroom. So how can greater attention be focused on the senses, awareness, and empathy in design education? To get an idea, let's look at how other disciplines address this. Life drawing in fine art requires an attention to the human form. Joyce Cutler Shaw, artist-in-resident at the School of Medicine of the University of California, takes this much further, emphasizing along the way the difference between digital representation and physical reality. She says, new technologies can now simulate and move dimensional form in all directions, but a screen does not substitute for the direct experience of flesh, its feel, its odors, the subtle sound of its resistance, and the tight, unyielding layers of its intertwined parts. Drawing from touch, the living and the dead, demands a forceful appreciation of the senses. Environmental landscape architecture approaches the benefit of sensory focus by asking the designer to consider a walk through the landscape in scientific terms. In Beauty and Ugliness, Anne Strother Thompson wrote of the very real kinesthetic differences between a static landscape painting and the aesthetic perception activated by walking in a three-dimensional landscape, because our visual memory of things is gained during our moments of movement. Perspective changes dynamically as one travels, animating the body and activating kinesthetic awareness. The physical environment is limitless in sensory diversity if one is encouraged to take note and appreciate it all, and traveling with others only enhances the experience. Nancy Levitt, school director of Lakewood School of Therapeutic Massage, told me that her curriculum doesn't focus specifically on individual senses, but says, except for taste, each of the senses are present in the instruction. Oils, aromatherapy, music, temperature, and of course, targeted tactile pressure. Empathy is vital to being a good massage therapist. Being sympathetic with the person whose body you are exploring through touch is particularly important to helping that person. Is the instruction effective, I ask? We present and emphasize the material. The rest is up to the individual, Nancy says. How do you teach empathy? How do you teach professionalism, for that matter? No specific class will do it. Most intriguing of all, among the various sensory techniques I found, is teaching anthropology through performance, developed by Mark Peddlety at the University of Minnesota. Peddlety integrated performance elements incrementally to test their effectiveness, and performances ranged from modest experiences to full theatrical performance involving musicians, dancers, actors, artists, and technicians. The objectives he sought to attain were to engage students, to help students gain a more intimate understanding of cultural behavior and diversity through the adoption of character roles, to heighten students' knowledge and understanding of cultural history, to help students gain critical insights into their own cultures, and to help students gain new understandings of themselves through comparative reflection. Presenting research and scientific data of the senses in engaging interactive environments can elevate the role of sensory understanding to the higher level it deserves. And I'll take you one further. Through greater awareness of the senses and the memories we create through sensory experiences, we can become better designers. I've presented just a sampling of methods which design education can use to purposely engage the senses. These do not require special equipment, and many of the other disciplines are already functioning on community college and university campuses. Embracing the senses in design is not frivolous, love-child hippie stuff. Indeed, we must move beyond the relatively simple act of making beautiful objects in order to entice human engagement, and we must travel in a new direction. In the classroom, the senses can be integrated to facilitate deeper understanding of objects, processes, and one another. By understanding how the senses operate, students, and later designers, may better serve their audiences and the world. Thank you.